Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan and I'm very pleased to be back after a couple of weeks with an 100 Experts video. Yes guys, we are going to be asking the 100 Experts what they are doing this game week, what transfers they're going to be making and what captain they're going to be choosing as well, because it's a crazy week for captaincy. So guys, if you enjoy this one, make sure you continue to drop those likes and do subscribe if you are new around here. Until, let's meet those experts. So a massive thank you to everyone getting involved this week. I appreciate that a lot of us are waiting for more information before committing to our final Game Week 22 moves. But we have got some good information regardless of that, with some nice rough plans that could give us a very good idea of what we want to do in the future. So thank you very much to everyone on this list, and make sure you go check them out if you see them anywhere online. So out of our 100 expert managers this week, 50% are going to be making one transfer this week. That is half of our FPL managers. But what I find very interesting here is it doesn't really seem to be a week for multiple transfers. We only got 4% making 2 transfers this week, and nobody is making more than that. Hits are at an absolute minimum this week. We do have 42% not making a transfer at all this week. So it could actually be that this isn't really a week to be making a transfer at all. Bit of a curious one to see so many people not making a transfer, and those that are not really making too many transfers. But on the flip side of that, we have got 4% using their wild card this week, so there is still a few wild card users this week. It is not nobody, it is a small trend, but a trend regardless. So maybe you might be in a position where you want to wild card as long as you are planning for the future. That's certainly what a few of our experts are going to be doing this week. But let's move on and see what the overall player base in FPL are doing. So the most popular Game Week 22 transfers in the world are interesting this week because we have actually got a record being broken in the 100 Experts series history. We've got a record here because this is the most a player has been transferred in the overall player base in FPL at the time of making an 100 Experts video. Yeah, De Bruyne, over 1 million transfers for him in already in that overall FPL player base. That is an enormous number considering we're still a few days away from deadline. So you can definitely see the overall trends, like the overall player base in FPL, are heavily wanting to bring in De Bruyne to their FPL teams, and I'm sure you can kind of understand why with the results from the bench from Game Week 21, and also maybe getting a rest in the FA Cup as well. Maybe that does play into De Bruyne's hands a little bit. It depends on your narrative there. Some people will say, well, De Bruyne, he was on the bench against Spurs, you know, in the FA Cup, so maybe he's still not ready to start. On the other hand, you could say, well, maybe he is ready to start. Well, Pep Guardiola certainly thinks he is ready to start, so that is definitely something to consider moving forward into Game Week 22. A lot of people paying attention to that one. We've got the likes of Palmer, and Tony, and Diogo Jota, kind of popular here as well. A couple of defenders in Pedro Porro and Estupinian with some popularity among the defenders. Although there is another defender who our experts do seem to really like this game week that isn't featured on this particular list. So maybe a way of you guys getting an edge in your FPL teams. But we do need to look at, out of these players, the popular players in the world, which of these players do our experts also like? And the answer to that is De Bruyne, of course. Like everyone kind of agrees that De Bruyne is definitely a player worth considering right now. Whether you actually go for him or not, different question, but you've got to consider him at least. Diogo Jota, after his big haul last game week, is also popular among our experts, as is Estupinian, Foden, and Haaland. So we've got 3 Man City players popular among our experts this week, with the addition there of Jota and Estupinian. All of the other players, we're seeing very little interest in them at all. Let's go through some of these players that none of our experts like. So Palmer, first of all, no transfers in for Palmer this week. He's got a tough game against Liverpool, but I think the real factor here is that most of our experts already own Palmer, and if you don't own Palmer already, is now the time to buy him, especially considering we've got Liverpool up this week, and in Game Week 26, it's looking very likely that Chelsea and Spurs, actually, Chelsea and Spurs are both likely to blank in Game Week 26. So maybe it's not actually the best time to buy Palmer if you don't have him already. We've got Tony here, no one going for him, which I thought was kind of interesting. We saw a few people go for him last game week, but maybe the interest has cooled a little bit ahead of this fixture against Spurs. No one's bringing in Isak. You can kind of understand why. Isak and Gordon, no interest there among our experts, just because Aston Villa is a tough game week. Maybe we can wait one more week before going for those Newcastle guys. Richarlison, again, has the difficulty of that blank game week, likely in Game Week 26. There's still still a chance that it's not a blank, but it's looking very, very possible that that is going to be a blank game week for the likes of Chelsea and Spurs, as I say. So experts not looking to bring him in this week. But yeah, again, he's another player that quite a few of our experts already have. So that's definitely going to impact that. And you could maybe say a similar thing about Darwin. Anyone who has Darwin, they're probably not going to sell him, but would they be buying Darwin now necessarily? I'm not sure. I think that one is a little bit more open to interpretation. I'm kind of surprised that none of our experts are going for Darwin, but this week, they're not. They either already have him or they're not buying him. That's the kind of simple fact there. So yeah, let's go into more detail. Who are our experts actually bringing in? Well, here are the players that are being removed for these players that are going to be brought in. So first of all, Salah. A lot of our experts held on to Salah. I mean, I also held on to Salah last game week because I thought, you know, there's a good chance Egypt to get knocked out of the cup fairly early, and maybe Salah benefits from a double game week in 25. That's going to look more and more likely as we approach game week 25 that Liverpool do get that double game week in 25 there. But yeah, it's interesting. Salah obviously picks up an injury. He's expected to be out for 3 to 4 weeks. That means he could miss a double game week in 25. Even even if he does come back, after, it's going to be likely after game week 25 anyway. So there's good reason to sell Salah. He's going to be probably out until game week 25, including game week 25. Then in game week 26, Liverpool are going to blank. So this kind of puts Salah out for 5 game weeks. After that, they play Forest and then Man City, and then we're looking at another blank after that as well in game week 29. So really, the only good fixture for Salah is going to be it's going to be that fixture against Nottingham Forest, and that's in the next sort of 7, 8 game weeks. The only game week that Salah is going to have that actually looks really nice is that one fixture, because the others he's going to be injured for, or he's going to be blanking because Liverpool are going through in their FA Cup and in the League Cup final as well. So yeah, Salah really is a player to sell this game week, and our experts seem to agree. Lots sold last game week, even more selling this game week. Salah is the #1 player to sell this week among our experts. A few people who did have Son are looking to remove him as well. Interesting to see only 4 people removing Saka. I know a lot of you guys have asked me questions about, should we remove Saka? Is Saka washed? Is Saka finished? Well, I mean, I don't know. A few of our experts seem to think so. I think we all agree that he's maybe not worth the 9.1 million that he costs at the moment. So he's not good value for money, but is he a priority transfer out? I don't think so in general, and our experts seem to agree. Only a few people removing him. Similar could be said about Trippier, although Trippier is a lower ownership player, but a few people removing him ahead of his tough game against Aston Villa. And an interesting one here, Archer. 2 transfers out for him. Mubama's also being transferred out. Those cheap third forwards, if you like, that bench forward option that a lot of people have is being sold a lot at the moment. So yeah, maybe people are looking to move towards a 3-4-3 formation going forward, which I think is going to be perhaps reflected in the next few weeks, as there's so many good forwards to go for right now. The most popular transfer in is Kevin De Bruyne. The overall player base and our experts seem to agree on this one, with De Bruyne heavily at the top of this list. 24 transfers in out of our 54 transfer-making experts this week, which is, it's a very significant number, especially considering that some of our experts actually bought De Bruyne last game week, took that risk and brought him in last game week. But now I think it's getting safer and safer to pick De Bruyne as we go through the game weeks, and I think people will gradually start to pick him up over the next few weeks. But a lot of our experts are going in now for him. After that, we've got Diogo Jota. I mean, no surprise there. Looking really good at the moment, isn't he? Particularly if Salah is going to be out for a little while. Jota is probably going to be the man to step up and, score a lot of the goals, create a little bit of what is needed at Liverpool in their season, which is going to be the last season with Jurgen Klopp. Last season with Jurgen Klopp, things are probably going to step up in the Liverpool camp. We expect Liverpool to go out with a bang with Klopp. It could be really nice going into the end of the season. So Diogo Jota has got to be a man on everyone's lips. Now, a few people are looking to bring in Haaland this week, but everyone who was bringing him in among our experts did kind of say to me, yeah, I'm looking to bring in Haaland. I'm looking at the options, how I'm going to bring him in, but I understand that there's a good chance that he's not going to be ready for the game in game week 22 against Burnley. So be cautious about Haaland at this moment. That's all I would say. I know a couple of days ago in the buy, sell, keep, avoid video, I did recommend buying Haaland. I've called on him a lot since that I released that video, and that's mostly because he wasn't in the squad against Spurs, and I don't know if he starts against Burnley. I think a place on the bench is more likely against Burnley. So I think Haaland, looked like a good pick, when it looked like he could start or get some minutes against Spurs. That didn't happen. I think we do need to call on him a little bit. And it seems like our experts have called on him a lot as well, because 6 transfers in is not too much when you consider what a monument of FPL this man is. And we've got 5 transfers in for each of Estupinian and Walker. So both of these defenders popular moving forward. These are your 2 defender picks. If you're looking for a new defender, Estupinian and Walker seem to be the standouts among our experts. You know, maybe Pedro Porro, interest is cooling a little bit. A lot of people have him already, of course. But, you know, moving forward with potential blanks, with Maddison coming back and taking the set pieces from Pedro Porro, I think Estupinian and Walker are definitely players I would be looking more towards at the moment. And we've got a few other midfielders here. Foden, Bowen, Eze and Kudus, all with a little bit of interest there as well. So our first suggested transfers are going to be all about how to get De Bruyne into your team if you are looking to get him in. So our experts seem to like the idea of selling Salah primarily for De Bruyne. Salah to De Bruyne is a really, really obvious move. It's what I like to call a slam dunk move. A move that you don't really need to think about too much. It's very obvious. We're removing one premium player, bringing in another, and it just kind of works. It works very nicely there. So yeah, you can definitely consider doing the Salah to De Bruyne move. I like it. Why not? Son to De Bruyne is definitely an option if maybe you don't have Salah anymore and you still want to get De Bruyne. Maybe you still have Son on your bench. You know he's not going to play for a few game weeks. You're worried about a blank in game week 26. Yeah, maybe just go Son out, De Bruyne in. You know, Bob's your uncle. Everything looks amazing. And of course, we've got Saka to De Bruyne if you want to go that way as well. I think this is the lowest priority of these 3 transfers. I think as a priority, you know, you sell your Salahs or your Sons for De Bruyne. If you already have done that for whatever reason, you still don't have De Bruyne. Maybe you've got money in the bank. You know, going for De Bruyne is very nice as long as you are not kind of hindering your ability to get Haaland in the future, because I think that's going to be a big thing. If you're going to be buying De Bruyne, make sure you do still have the money to go for Haaland at some point in the next couple of weeks, you know, assuming you're not going for him this week, of course, because Haaland is going to be a really, really crucial player to get in the very near future. We're not exactly sure when it's going to be, but we know it's going to happen eventually, probably sooner rather than later. So yeah, De Bruyne, top of the transfer targets among our experts. You can try and get him in if you fancy him, if you like the look of him against Burnley. But yeah, he does come at a cost because he's a very expensive player. Some other suggested transfers. I mean, if you don't like De Bruyne, Diogo Jota is probably the other standout midfielder to go for right now. So a Salah to Diogo Jota, or, you know, a Son, or maybe even a Saka to Diogo Jota. I think these transfers all work very well as well. So long as you don't like De Bruyne. Not everyone's going to like him. Some people are still going to be worried about his minutes moving forward. And that's fine. If you're worried, you know, you just got to go with what you feel at the moment about that situation, because I don't think there is a clear answer. Pep Guardiola says one thing. De Bruyne, you know, maybe has not shown the same confidence in his ability to start games. I know some of the quotes were a few weeks ago now about De Bruyne wanting to ease himself in, but I don't think we could expect a huge amount of minutes for De Bruyne. Even if he does start, it's going to be maybe 60 minutes, something like that, against Burnley, which you could say is enough, but, you know, some people might not even think he'll start, in which case Jota is the next best option, I think, and our experts seem to agree there. Trippier to Estupinian or Trippier to Walker, I think, is a potential option you could go for. And finally, if you're looking for Haaland, the most popular way to get him in among our experts is to sell that cheap bench striker and move them out in order to get Haaland, and that is assuming you have a lot of money in the bank. I think if you are looking at selling the likes of Solanke, Watkins, Darwin, even Alvarez, I'm not so happy about selling those players for Haaland, because I think those are players who are very, very solid FPL assets, and you'll be removing them for a player who you're not even sure is going to start or not. You're probably not going to get early team news on Haaland because he plays on the Wednesday and deadlines on the Tuesday. So just be aware of that one. Or particularly if you're removing kind of those decent FPL strikers for Haaland, you could be sacrificing points to get a player who doesn't even start a game, which could be obviously problematic there. But yes, finally, guys, let's move on to captaincy. So, I was not expecting this when I started gathering the data for this video, but we do actually have a standout captain. I can't believe this. I thought this would be a really split week, and in fairness, there are 8 different players with a degree of popularity, with small trends at least, for each of these 8 different captains among our experts. So, it really is a week to go differential this week, with so many different options to go for, but there is a standout. There is a standout, and his name is Mr. Philip Foden. 47% of our experts, so almost half, are going to be going for Foden as their captain. So Foden is going to be the expert template captain pick this week. Although because he is below 50%, there is still a lot of people going in other directions. But I would really expect for Foden to be one of, if not the most dangerous player this game week. If you don't have him, or if you're not captaining him, then Foden is going to be the player that you do need to worry about a little bit, because he really is going to be very popular in terms of, you know, a lot of experts brought him in last game week. He was the most popular transfer in last game week. This week, he's the most popular captain. So we're going to see a lot of the top FPL managers owning Foden, captaining Foden, and that's going to be a worry for a lot of people who don't have him. But at the same time, there are other options. So if you are bringing in De Bruyne, you fancy him for captaincy, 19% of our experts agree. He's a high-risk, high-reward captaincy that really could work out super well if it works out. So if you're prepared to take that risk, I think De Bruyne is definitely a nice pick to go for. Although, of course, the likes of Foden and Alvarez may be slightly safer on minutes this game week. But De Bruyne, high risk, high reward. If you fancy it, why not? Go for it. This is definitely a week where it's an opportunity to go differential, and there's not going to be as much damage compared to weeks where, you know, we see like 85% of people captaining a Haaland or a Salah. Those are the real dangerous, damaging weeks to go differential. This week, we still do have a standout captain in Foden, but I still think there is an opportunity here. So De Bruyne, nice opportunity. A few other players that are being captained. Bowen here, of course. Haaland, although all of the Haaland captainers that I spoke to did say, you know, I have like a vice captain. Many of the vice captains were actually Foden for the Haaland captainers. And, you know, a lot of people are kind of acknowledging, yeah, I'm going to try and get more information between now and deadline. If I don't get that information, maybe I change it off Haaland. But yes, a lot of people are toying with the idea right now. Of course, Alvarez, 5%, think he's a very decent captain shout, as is Richarlison, maybe a slightly lower ceiling for Richarlison, but of course he is very reliable and very consistent in FPL at the moment, and he's got a game against Brentford, which I don't think is so bad, really. And finally, we've got the likes of Watkins and Diogo Jota at the bottom of this list as well. A couple of people going for these players as well. I guess we really are in a situation where anyone could be a captain this week. There's so many different options here. There really is. It's a bit of a mad game week like that. There's a couple of 1%ers, which I'll have a quick note of here. So Darwin, one person going for Darwin, captain. One person going for Eze, captain. He plays against Sheffield United. And one person going for Tony against Spurs as well, which is kind of interesting. We'll see how that one goes. But, yeah, like I say, guys, so many different options, so much variety here this game week, but at the same time as that variety, we do see a strong trend, or a strong-ish trend, a medium trend, I guess, towards Foden as your captain. So guys, if you are at a loss, you can't decide who you want to captain, maybe you just want to go safe, Phil Foden is your answer. De Bruyne, if you fancy going a little bit riskier. Outside of that, go crazy. Why not? It's one of those game weeks. We'll have a bit of fun. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, make sure you do drop a like. Do subscribe if you are new around here as well. And yeah, make sure you do check out a couple other Game Week 22 videos that we've made so far this week. We did various transfer videos. We also did a really nice long stream that I think you guys are going to enjoy. We spoke a lot about strategies, double game weeks, blank game weeks, and yeah, a few other bits and bobs. Who is the priority players to sell? So yeah, go check all of that stuff out on the channel, Game Week 22. And we'll be back tomorrow with more videos. Till then, thanks so much for watching once again, and I'll see you later. Thanks.